Okay, so let's get into this. You know that feeling sometimes, like something's just not quite right with the world.
That little splinter in your mind, yeah, like there's something just under the surface.
Exactly. And that feeling is kind of the jumping off point for today's big question. Are we maybe living inside a computer simulation?
It sounds like pure science fiction at first, but once the idea gets in your head, it's hard to just dismiss it.
Totally. And what's wild is it's not just sci-fi anymore, is it? We're seeing actual scientists, philosophers, serious thinkers considering this.
Right, it's moved beyond, just movies and books into actual academic discussion.
You've got people like Nick Bostrom, Elon Musk,
Yeah.
pretty prominent figures saying, yeah, this is actually plausible.
Which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the simulation theory, look at the main arguments based on the material we've got, and try to make sense of this pretty complex idea. Make it something you can really chew on.
And a really good place to start is Nick Bostrom's work. He kind of framed the whole debate with his trilemma.
The trilemma, right. So basically three possibilities, and one of them has to be true, more or less.
That's the idea. Three potential outcomes for, like, any sufficiently advanced civilization.
Okay, let's break them down. So possibility number one is we just never get there.
Basically, yeah. Civilizations like ours or any civilization, they just never reach the point where they can create these incredibly realistic uh, ancestor simulations or simulations of conscious beings.
Maybe technology hits a wall.
Right.
Well, maybe something else happens.
Could be limitations we don't see yet, or maybe advanced civilizations tend to, self-destruct before they reach that super advanced stage.
Right.
A bit grim, but possible.
Okay, so that's one path. What's the second possibility Bostrom outlines?
The second is, okay, maybe civilizations do get that advanced. They could create these amazing simulations, but they choose not to.
Ah, so they have the power, but not the will. Why? Ethics.
Could be ethical reasons, yeah. Maybe simulating conscious beings who feel pain and joy is just seen as wrong. Or maybe they just lose interest, find other things to do with all that computational power.
Huh. So capability doesn't automatically mean action. Interesting. Okay, but the third one, this is where it gets really weird, right?
This is the one that really fuels the simulation hypothesis. Possibility 3. Advanced civilizations do reach that stage, and they do run lots of simulations.
Lots of them, like potentially billions, trillions, who knows?
Exactly. If even a few advanced civilizations start running simulations, maybe simulating their own past or exploring other possibilities, you could very quickly end up with just a vast number of simulated realities.
And only one. Well, base reality, the original one.
Potentially, yes. So if you have billions of simulated worlds and maybe just one original reality, what are the odds?
The odds are stacked against us being in that original base reality.
Overwhelmingly so, statistically speaking. If simulations are common, then it's just far, far more likely that we are in one, rather than being the ones who might someday create one.
Wow. Okay, so just accepting the possibility that advanced tech could do this almost forces you towards thinking we're likely simulated.
It's a powerful, logical argument, yeah. It kind of flips the default assumption on its head.
So why would they even do it? Why run these simulations? What's the point?
Well, think about why we run simulations now, even relatively simple ones. Our sources suggest a few drivers. Entertainment is a big one, right? The ultimate VR.
Immersive historical dramas you can literally live in. Yeah, I can see the appeal.
Or research. Running simulations to understand history, sociology, how societies evolve. Maybe even testing out different physical laws.
Like a giant cosmic science experiment.
Could be. Or maybe nostalgia, recreating the past perfectly. Maybe future humans want to know what it was like back in the chaotic early 21st century.
Right. It's like what we're already doing with video games and virtual worlds, just taken to an unbelievable extreme.
Yeah. Our tech is already heading towards more realism, more immersion. It's not such a massive leap of imagination to see where that could eventually lead.
And if you were inside one of these super advanced simulations,
Yeah.
how would you even know?
That's the kicker, isn't it? The argument is you wouldn't. A perfect simulation would be, well, perfect, indistinguishable from base reality from the inside.
Our sources use that Sims analogy. The characters in the game, they don't know their code in a computer. Their little sim world is their reality.
Exactly. If the physics are consistent, if the sensory input feels real, it is real for the inhabitants. Our reality is all we know, so it feels fundamental.
Which leads to those weird little moments,
Mm-hmm.
the glitches in the Matrix idea. It's kind of fun to think about.
Yeah, the sources mention things we all experience, right? Deja vu, that feeling of, I've done this before,
Mm.
or those bizarre coincidences that seem too statistically unlikely.
Or losing your keys. You put them on the counter, you search everywhere, nothing. Then later, boom, right there on the counter.
Happens all the time. Or that song that suddenly seems to be playing everywhere you go for a week.
Right. Now, obviously, we usually just brush these off, memory blip, coincidence, whatever.
But if you're wearing your simulation theory hat, you could playfully interpret them as maybe tiny bugs in the code, rendering errors, system updates.
A little resource allocation issue in Sector 7G. It's amusing, but it does tap into that feeling that reality isn't always as smooth or predictable as we think.
Beyond those little day-to-day glitches, though, there are some deeper arguments that come up in the material, more fundamental stuff.
Like the nature of the universe itself, the physics.
Exactly. Think about how everything in physics seems to boil down to mathematics. Equations describe orbits, particles, forces, everything.
It's uncannily mathematical.
Mhm.
Our sources mention Max Tegmark's idea here, right? That maybe reality isn't just described by math, maybe it is math.
Which is a pretty radical thought. But if the universe is fundamentally information, fundamentally mathematical structures, well, that sounds an awful lot like computer code, doesn't it?
Yeah, it aligns surprisingly well with the idea of a computed simulated reality. It's information being processed.
And then you layer on the weirdness from quantum mechanics. That's another area the sources bring up.
Oh boy. Yeah, quantum physics is where reality gets really, really strange. The whole observation thing.
Right. The classic example, a particle doesn't seem to have a definite state like its position or spin until you actually measure it, until you observe it. Before that, it's just a haze of probabilities.
It's like it doesn't bother deciding until someone looks. Why would reality work like that?
It's a huge puzzle. But one interpretation, which fits eerily well with simulation theory, is that maybe reality is only rendered, only computed in detail when it needs to be, when an observer interacts with it.
Like in a video game. The game engine doesn't render the entire world all the time, right? Just the bits the player can actually see or interact with. It saves resources.
Precisely. Maybe the universe is just being incredibly efficient, only calculating the details when an observation forces its hand. It's suggestive, let's say.
Okay, so if we entertain this, if we're potentially in a simulation, the next obvious question is, who's running it? Or what is running it?
That's the ultimate mystery, isn't it? Our sources toss around a few possibilities. Maybe it's future humans running ancestor simulations to study their past.
Us, but, way down the line technologically.
Or maybe it's not humans at all. Maybe it's some kind of post-human superintelligence, something so far beyond us we can't even conceive of its nature or motivations.
AI that got really advanced.
Could be. The sources even have that playful idea. Maybe our entire universe is just like a high school science project for some kid in the next level up of reality.
Laugh slightly. If it is, I hope we're getting at least a B.
Yeah.
Though maybe not, given, well, everything.
Yeah, maybe the simulation controllers are thinking, simulation 7 billion-C is showing some worrying trends. Or maybe it's just entertainment for them. Reality TV on a cosmic scale.
Keeping up with the humans. Oh, dear.
But setting aside who or what might be behind the curtain, the really crucial question for us living our lives day to day is, so what? Does it actually matter if it's a simulation?
Right. That's kind of the bottom line. And the sources make a really strong point here. Simulation or not, our experiences feel real.
Absolutely. The joy, the pain, the love, the loss, the decisions we make, the people we connect with, that all feels completely authentic to us. That subjective experience is undeniable.
So finding out it's a simulation, would it invalidate all that? The sources seem to suggest maybe not. Our reality is still our reality.
Our consciousness, our experiences, our relationships, they retain their significance within the context of this existence, whatever its ultimate nature might be.
In fact, one perspective raised is that this idea could actually make life feel more valuable, more precious maybe.
How so?
Well, if it is a designed reality, maybe there's a purpose. Maybe our consciousness itself is the point, something inherently valuable that the simulation is designed to produce or study.
That's an interesting twist. It adds a potential layer of meaning rather than just randomness. It
It's
simply
right.
makes you think about the value of consciousness itself.
And maybe it just encourages a bit of humility. We think we've got a decent handle on reality, but maybe we understand almost nothing about the true scope of existence.
It definitely pushes back against certainty, encourages questioning our fundamental assumptions, which is probably healthy.
So wrapping this all up, The sources leave us, and you, the listener, with one final, pretty heavy question.
Going.
If someone somehow could offer you absolute, irrefutable proof tomorrow that, yes, we are definitely living in a computer simulation, would you actually want to know the truth?
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the question, isn't it? Ignorance is bliss, or truth at any cost.
Would knowing change everything, or would you just carry on?
Yeah.
I mean, prefer not to pull back that curtain.
It's deeply personal. There's no right answer. Would the knowledge empower you or paralyze you? Hard to say.
It really is. But maybe, as the sources seem to conclude, whether this is level 1 base reality or simulation number 8 trillion, it's the reality we've got. It's the one we experience.
And perhaps the best response, regardless, is just to live it fully, authentically, with curiosity and maybe a bit more wonder about the sheer strangeness of it all.
A good place to leave it, I think. So, yeah, for you listening, would you take the blue pill or the red pill, metaphorically speaking? Worth pondering. It's definitely one of the most fascinating rabbit holes to go down when thinking about our existence.